What's up, everybody? Brian Tong here, and Apple announced the official details for the Apple TV Plus service, so we could just finally get a comprehensive look of what the service entails and if it's for you. So let's just break it down. Apple TV Plus launches on November 1st. It will be $4.99 per month and available in 100 countries on launch. It will initially only be available on Apple hardware through the Apple TV app that is pre-installed on the iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, and iPod Touch. Come on. If you have an iPod Touch that you are still using on a daily, I want to see you represent in the comments. That is a legit fan, like right there. I want to see how many of you there are. But Apple TV Plus will be available soon on the Mac with macOS Catalina, according to Apple. The Apple TV app will also be available on select Samsung smart TVs when the service launches, and will eventually come to Amazon Fire TV and LG, Roku, Sony, and Vizio platforms in the future, but there's been no date or time range given for those. Now, Apple TV Plus will have a family sharing feature that lets up to 5 people share a plan, but we haven't been told if there's a stream limit for simultaneous streams. That has yet to be announced. Apple released their official list of November 1st launch titles, but they won't have a huge catalog of content out right out of the gates, like, let's say, Netflix or Disney Plus, so these shows are going to be important. So let's start off with the show See.
Almost all humans have lost the ability to see. Some say sight was taken from them by God to heal the earth. For the few who remain, vision is only a myth.
It stars Jason Momoa and Alfre Woodard. It's set 600 years in the future after a virus has made the entire population blind. It has this Bird Box meets Game of Thrones vibe. I also promise I won't make any more lame Seaman, Aquaman jokes because, yeah, you know, the sea is like the water and, you know, he's Aquaman.
8 seconds to you. Cue her.
Good morning. I'm bringing you some sad and upsetting news. And while I don't know the details of the allegations,
she's throwing me under the bus.
Mitch Kessler, my co-host and partner of 15 years, was fired today.
The Morning Show is a morning news drama with a blockbuster cast of Jennifer Aniston, Steve Carell, and Reese Witherspoon. I've had plenty of experience in the news business, and we know Apple's looking for family-friendly content, but if this was a real newsroom, come on, there would be like F-bombs dropping all over the place. Plus Dickinson, it's a period piece about, surprise, Emily Dickinson with this modern spin and a comedic take with Haley Steinfeld. And probably the most interesting one for me is For All Mankind, where it explores if the global space race never ended and it was still the cultural centerpiece of America.
This is not the end of the race. We must keep our eyes to the future.
3, 2.
So think of it as kind of a what if type of series, but super cool topic. So those are really the big 4. And then you saw some of these series in the background screen of Apple's announcements. Helpsters is from the creators of Sesame Street. Snoopy in Space is Snoopy in Space. They're bringing back a reinvention of the Ghost Rider series from the 90s. The Elephant Queen is a documentary on the species on the verge of extinction, and it looks like Oprah Winfrey's book club with author interviews will be in this mix on launch, with more shows and movies coming each month. So now that launch lineup, hey, it may or may not jump out at you. The star talent absolutely does, and I'll be honest, it's not something that I'm instantly excited for yet, but there is one way Apple is going to make sure you and I all pay attention to it. Starting September 10th, anyone who purchases an iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, a Mac, or iPod Touch will get an entire year of Apple TV Plus for free.
And so starting today, when you buy an iPhone, an iPad, a Mac, or an Apple TV, you'll get 1 year of Apple TV Plus included for free.
You can't get any better than for free. And only Apple could be so bold to have an offer like this because the revenue streams come from so many places. It's an absolutely genius move to get people on the service because they know all the competition that's out there. I wasn't even remotely interested in anything on Apple TV's initial launch that would convince me to spend $5 a month for it, but they now have my attention because I could try it for free. And Apple sells about 50 million devices each quarter, so you're talking about an instant install base for a year of roughly 50 million users in the first 3 months. That's just the power of the Apple brand. Now, competition is fierce, especially with newcomer Disney Plus coming out of the gate strong. You know how I feel about that. And then having to compete with an established giant like Netflix or Hulu. And then there's others. Warner Media's HBO Max and NBC Universal. They're also going to have their streaming services coming out soon. So there's only so many dollars people will allocate to streaming plans. But Apple has the cash to support this service for years and just find the shows that will stick to get people invested in Apple TV Plus. Now, reports already say episodes of The Morning Show and C each cost roughly the same or even more than an episode of Game of Thrones. So they're going to have flying dragons in The Morning Show, right? Probably not. But like I said, this is a long play for them, not just 1 or 2 years, at least really 3 to 5 to get some real traction and success. Now, another challenge they have is reports have come out saying Apple has stopped production and canceled series that are too edgy for them. Dr. Dre's TV series Vital Signs was based on his life and was reportedly scrapped by Tim Cook due to its graphic depictions of violence, sex, and drug use. I mean, there were reports of a graphic orgy scene that none of us ever wanted to see. Then a recent report said Apple had canceled another show it was working on in September of this year called Bastards, where two best friends that were Vietnam War veterans both end up falling in love with the same woman who was killed in an accident, and then they go on a shooting rampage. Now, Apple wanted it to be this uplifting story about friendship. The showrunners wanted it to focus on the darker aspects. So the theme of Apple's content is clearly geared towards being family friendly, which is fine. You could say the same thing about Disney, but that already has amazing properties that are hits and that we're ready to go for. Now, it kind of feels like Apple's really trying to be a PG version of HBO. I don't know how that's going to work, but HBO works because they continue to just like push the limits and go places you just can't on network TV. So when you look at it that way, Apple's actually competing more with Disney Plus for that same target audience, but Apple doesn't have the massive content library and franchises people are already invested in on day one. Apple TV Plus is a service that Apple themselves is taking very seriously. Bloomberg reports Apple is building a team of people with award strategy experience. They're planning to arrange screenings and other publicity events for Hollywood insiders who get to vote on which movies and TV shows get Oscars and Emmys. The thinking is that some of their own shows could be in the running for Emmys as early as 2020, shows like The Morning Show and some of the others we mentioned. And one way to get attention and instant credibility is to have an award-winning show or nominations from their Apple TV streaming service in year one. Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime have all had nominations, and it did really help fuel the thinking that streaming services who were once looked as outsiders are now producing the same level of content as the big boys. So see, look, it even worked for James Corden's Carpool Karaoke, and the dude is funny, don't get me wrong, but how is a show with two guys, and yes, Paul McCartney was the other guy jumping in a car for an hour and goofing around, really topping Beyonce's Homecoming special from Netflix? Can anyone honestly explain this? That's why Apple is taking this so seriously. It's going to be really interesting to see where this all goes, but the verdict on Apple TV won't be decided in year one or even year two, but honestly further down the line. And I do think they're the most fascinating streaming service from a business perspective because they don't need to rely on Apple TV Plus subscribers to drive their growth for them to keep it going. Other services rely on subscription numbers to keep them going, but Apple doesn't. So we know Apple's sitting on over $200 billion and they're invested in content. Their budget of more than $6 billion for year one. While you look at Netflix, who reportedly will be spending $15 billion in 2019 alone on content. And in a world where you have to pay to play, Apple has all the cash to stick around and really just figure this out. So, all right, let's recap the big points to keep in mind with Apple TV Plus. Apple TV Plus launches on November 1st. It'll cost $4.99 a month. You can get Apple TV Plus for free for an entire year by buying any major Apple product as of September 10th, pretty much other than the Apple Watch. It will be available in 100 countries on day one and will initially launch on Apple devices with the Apple TV app and select Samsung TVs, with more devices being added along the way. So with all that knowledge, what do you all think of the service? I know you're going to give it a try for a free year, but were any of you on board already because you're just going to sign up for anything Apple? Do you plan on renewing when the year is up? I mean, what do you think of the show so far? I want to hear it all from you in the comments, and I'll respond when I clip my toenails. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, you know the drill. Thumbs up, subs up, and hit that notification bell, ding, to get all my videos when they drop. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care, be safe, peace.